your what, many thousands and thousands of pages of comic script writing. Did you ever try your hand at poetry or prose or screenplays?
I tried it at poetry. I love poetry. In fact, I wrote a poem called God Woke, which you'll be able to find on the internet if you Google it. And I've written a lot of other poems I won't bore you with. I love Edgar Allan. Everybody says, you like Edgar Allan Poe. What do you think of the Telltale Heart? I said, no, it's his poems I like. Yeah, I like poetry. What was the question?
Oh no, just what other writing you've tried?
No,
apart from comics,
else.
Just some poetry.
I never tried to write a novel because I don't have the patience. The one thing I loved about comic book writing, I could write a story in a day, and by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, I was finished. It was over, because I really hate to write. And a novel, you'd have to write a little bit and put it aside and go back to it the next day and worry about it. And I don't have the temperament for that. The same with the screenplay. I had been asked to write it. I did a screenplay once. There was a famous French director that none of you will know named Alain Resnais. And he came to America to meet me because he was a fan of Spider-Man. And he wanted us to do a screenplay together. I wrote training films in the Army, but that was not the same as a screenplay that he'd won. So anyway, we worked on it together, and I wrote it as best I could, and he loved it. And then we brought it to a producer, a guy named Martin Ransahoff, a company called Filmways. This was about 1 million years ago. And the producer said, I like this story, I want to use it, but Stan, you've got to cut the dialogue. Because I didn't know at that time, the less dialogue you have in a movie, the better. Because these are moving pictures. The people want to see the pictures move. There should only be enough dialogue to keep things going. I wrote pages of dialogue and speeches. So he said, there's too much dialogue, you got to cut it. And my nutty friend, Alain Resnais, the director, who is very set in his ways, he said, no, Stan will not cut a word of it. So that screenplay is still laying on a shelf somewhere. We were paid for it, but he never produced it, and that's the only time I really wrote something different than comics.